Welcome, one and all, to Shark Jumpers, presented by the Flick-N-Reel Fancast. This is the show about what happens when risk triumphs over reward. What happens when stupidity hides in the guise of boldness. We at F&R have gathered our friends to discuss films, shows, and even games that have well and truly jumped the shark. Before we announce our travesties for discussion, we would like to bring on our most astute guests for our premiere. And that would be the one, the only, Sean Wingblade and Mike Deacon. We are going to pop this off here. Hey, there's everybody.
Hey.
And we're setting stuff up. It's okay.
Fighting Mike. Milton. Should I change my name to I don't even know what Chris something in next. Chris no, was it Houdini?
Just be the accountant. Just be the accountant.
Right?
We should all be the accountant, actually.
He had a stage name and I forget what it was. Oh no. I should have taken notes.
Hello to Miss Brandy. That's asking too much for these films. But anyways, let's crack this back open. All right. One last order of business before we dive headfirst into the Shark Tank. Yeah, I'm gonna copyright that right now. Well, that already exists, right?
That already exists. San Jose fine. Sharks.
We're still gonna use it.
They're coming after you.
We're off to a great start. I mean, month of prep for nothing, right? I want this show more than any show that we have to be our most interactive show. And I want everyone to be part of the conversation, either adding to it or suggesting other properties for us to sink our teeth into. And if you want to participate in the conversations, please leave us your questions and comments with Streamlabs. This is kind of going to be like a Streamlabs exclusive show, and you got that link down there on the bottom there. We're working on some ideas and some guests for our next episode, but we will see how that goes. And with that, the Premiere Boys, as we call ourselves, are kicking off the series with the Nick Cage special. And if you haven't seen the thumbnail, if you have seen the thumbnail, it comes to no surprise. How could we not start off this show without honoring one of the all-time shark jumping masters of Hollywood? And I tasked the three of us with plucking a movie from the legendary career of Nicolas Cage. Let's go around the table and share some of our selections along with the director, cast, and a brief synopsis here. So just 1 second. I just want to use the soundbite. I have no. So we'll find more reasons to use that throughout the show. Hopefully,
that just needs to be permanently on this show.
Indeed. And with that, to commence our breakdown of these movies. Shark bait, shark bait, all right, and I think we'll go probably in the order that we will do our reviews for them. So, Sean, what'd you pick?
What did I pick? Oh boy! So I think I failed you guys. I remember watching this movie when it first came out, and it might have. Of course, we're all like Nicolas Cage fans, but I loved Jessica Biel. I grew up on Seventh Heaven, and I think she was in Blade Trinity before this movie, but.
Don't you see? That's what she was there for. That was the plan. Give you a boner. You got one. Congratulations, you're human.
You're just gonna bomb us with sound bites this whole show. I'm not gonna be able to keep it together. So I picked next because next. Let me see or is it? Okay, so Lee Tamahori had Nick Cage, Jessica Biel, Julianne Moore. Came out in 2007. And this movie has a great concept. I don't think it has a great execution. And so the reason I say I think I failed you guys because I don't think this movie ever jumped. I think this whole movie was a shark jump. It didn't start off good and then jump the shark. It just was. It was already over the shark per se. For the entire duration of the movie.
Before we get into it, because we're going to do full reviews and talk about all these things. So just real quick,
full spoilers for the 2007 Nicolas Cage movie next. Just be careful.
It probably is full spoilers for most people because nobody wants to watch.
Nobody else watched the movie. That's because that's so.
For those of you that don't know, the film was directed by the famous Lee Tamahori. Very familiar with their work.
Yes.
So I want to let Mike let everyone. No, wait, Mike, not yet. I picked the film Knowing, and if you didn't already know, Knowing is actually my inspiration for doing this show because I remember watching it when I was like 14, 15 years old, and it was one of the first times where I was like, okay, I was with this movie for a minute, thought it was an interesting premise. And then it completely lost me. It jumped the shark, as it were. And then I was like, and I was talking to those of you that know PJ Campbell. I was like, oh, you guys should have a show on the Pajukin called just like Shark Jumpers and just talk about movies that did this. And like, oh, that's fun. And then nothing happened. I was like, all right, it's my idea. I'll do
mine. Yeah, there you go.
I'm taking it. It's mine.
So Knowing came out in 2009. It was directed by Alex Proyas, starring Nick Cage, Rose Byrne, and yes, Ben Mendelsohn.
Yep.
That was something I did not remember. I was like, when the cast was coming up, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Before I even knew who he was.
Mm-hmm.
This movie's it's a trip. For those of you who don't know, the premise is that Nick Cage basically, we'll just say, comes across a time capsule that has a scribbled down like piece of paper that has all these numbers on it, and he starts realizing that they correlate with like dates of tragedies and things going on in the world. And so he tries to use that to predict what's going to happen next, so that he's knowing the future. But Mike, what did you pick for your shark jumping film?
So I literally decided, I'm like, I'm very familiar with 90s Cage and early 2000s Cage. I'm like, I'm going to find something I've never seen before. I'm going through all my streaming apps. And I went to Tubi for whatever reason, and I saw Drive Angry. Boy, am I happy that I found Drive Angry. I spectacularly failed the assignment of picking a shark jumping movie, but oh boy, was this one fun. Like, I can't remember the last time I had as much entertainment out of a first time watch as I did out of Drive Angry. 2011 movie starring Nick Cage, Amber Heard, William Fichtner, just absolutely killing it in this movie. Directed by Patrick Lussier. And I think, this is a little spoiler. These Shark Jump is all of us not seeing this in theaters in 3D 10 years ago. That's what the Shark Jump is, because if there's ever a movie I regret not seeing in 3D, it's Drive Angry.
And I have to say that this movie's split down the middle, whether people know what kind of movie or what movie they're in, because I think Amber Heard and Nicolas Cage are just playing a role. Yep. But then you have William Fichtner and Billy Burke, who absolutely understand the assignment. Oh, yes. My God. So I cannot wait to get into further detail.
Oh, my God. It's so good.
It's weird to say I highly recommend the movie.
Yes. And not around children.
No.
Sean, you're telling us that you turned it off like 2 minutes in?
I started the movie, and I was alone in the house. My kids were out back; they were in the swimming pool. And I started the movie, and then I look over, and my daughter was staring through the sliding glass door. She opened. She goes, Did his hand just come off?" Because that's literally 2 to 3 minutes into the movie. I was like, "Yep, all right, pause. I gotta watch this later. I gotta figure out. I gotta get some alone time to figure out when to watch this movie." It was a blast.
So you had some alone time and needed to choose between watching The First Quiet Place or Drive Angry, and you made the correct choice.
Yes. Well, I had obligations
together. We did a little watch along. I mean, we didn't air it and stuff, but we watched it together, and that was a good time.
It was
Knowing. Knowing's the only one that properly fits the shark jumping.
Yes, it is true.
Of these three. So
the show ultimately became the story of Nick Cage's career jumping the shark. So that's
pretty much,
because these are all mid 2000 films.
Yeah,
for Drive Angry might be more recent.
Drive Angry is 2011.
2011, yeah.
Okay, so we're going 2009 to 2011. So we're talking like just mid 2000s.
Yeah,
early 2000s.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start off by taking on Next. Before we do, I have found some, dare I say, glorious reviews online for Next. schlocky mix of bad special effects and worse Cage hairdos. It's too bad that Mr. Cage couldn't tap into those powers to save himself from another bad choice in roles.
Aww.
Cage has yet another bad hairdo and a dick-based actioner that repeatedly breaks its own rules. But you did not come here for Rotten Tomatoes reviews. You came here for our review to talk about how this movie jumped the shark. And the most appropriate way is to just have Sean take it from here. Really, what is this movie about, and where did it jump the shark? Well,
I'd like to hop on the train of those Rotten Tomatoes reviews. This movie is so bad. I remember at least enjoying the concept of the movie. I think it has a cool concept. It was written by the same person who did I, Robot, right? Do robots dream of electric sheep? Is that the
I believe
term?
It's pronounced I Am Robot, but I could be
that's correct. At least that's an acceptable title in some circles. In concept, basically Nick Cage plays a stage magician in Vegas, and he uses his premonition powers, as you find out he has very soon, as essentially like a parlor trick. So he's just getting people on stage, getting their money, making a little scratch on the side. Exactly. Benefit of the doubt. Yeah, I liked I Am Legend.
I Am Robot.
I Legend. And he gets approached pretty quickly by the FBI. They are already on to. Oh, I guess the movie starts with him on the run from the because he starts playing blackjack. So he's on the run from like casino security because they realize that he's somehow getting away with making too much money. He's trying to avoid the cameras and stuff. And so it's actually an interesting scene to start in the casino. He's using his premonition powers to get away from security. He's diving behind people. He's putting on hats. He's getting away like through the casinos and stuff. So it starts off relative like, all right, I see what this guy's doing type of thing. But it just gets worse. And as far as it's the acting, it's the effects, it's the kind of the leaps in logic. Like it just doesn't, it doesn't make sense in a lot. Like, why would you jump to that? Julianne Moore, though, however, I feel like she was the most competent person in the whole movie. She actually played like a legit FBI agent. And Tim Franco's
that is a great comment.
Oh, is that Blade Runner? Oh, okay. Apologies, Tim. I'm not so well versed on.
He also says bad Cage is the best Cage.
It is. He's not wrong.
Is the best Cage.
Julianne Moore plays like the lead of the FBI, or at least this task force that's going after Cage because there's a nuclear bomb about to go off, and they need him. They need his powers to figure out where it's at. And she actually calls out like the stupidity of some of the stuff that her own agents are doing. Like she'll get like a late report. She's like, why am I just hearing about this? We've been talking for 4 hours. Like, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like this other shit's going down, and your agents aren't telling you. And so it's almost like fourth wall breaking in a sense. Like she's actually calling out the stupidity of the writing of the storyline, which seemed really weird. But I don't know. What do you remember about it, Jesse? You watched it so long ago when it first came out.
I remember there's something to do with like logs. Am I right? Was there logs?
There is a scene. Yeah, they're running down a hill trying to avoid basically like an explosion of some kind, forced like a logging truck to like expel a bunch of shit down a hill, essentially. Yeah.
And then I remember at that age, something I thought that was cool is I feel like he was in a shootout or some kind of a confrontation towards the end, and he's playing out like every possible thing that he could do.
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up using that to like dodge the bullets.
Yes. Yeah, scene towards the end, it's kind of the climax of the movie. They're trying to hunt down wherever this nuclear bomb is going to go off, and it actually that was a cool scene. He basically turns into like multiple man from like X-Men. Essentially, he just like branches off, boom, boom, boom. And you know what he's doing because we've been with him for an hour and a half. Is essentially he's playing out every scenario. If I make a left here, okay. If I make a left and then a right and then a right and then a straight and then a right and you know, so you see like hundreds of them just branch out through this like refinery on the water, the ship. And yes, Cheryl, logs. There were logs. And so he hunts down like there's snipers camping out. They're trying to kill him and the FBI agent. So they use it effectively. It's not bad. But as it gets towards the end of the movie, okay, so part of the premise of the movie is he's trying to hunt down Jessica Biel because he had a premonition of her.
Because who wouldn't?
Weeks ahead of time. He didn't know who she was. He just had like a diner and a time. And so he went there every day at the same time. And that's the only person or the only, scenario he's ever been able to jump ahead more than 2 minutes. 2 minutes was like his cutoff for the whole movie. But for some reason, he saw her weeks ahead of time. So he's trying to now save her because the bad guys have kidnapped the girl. And so he's trying to save her towards the end of the movie. Keep her from role. Yeah, different movie. And he goes through that entire scenario, the multiple man thing. They find he saves her life, and then it cuts to, oh no, we're too late. I made a mistake somewhere. And it flashes back in time to 40 minutes ago when he and Jessica Biel were in bed together and he had imagined this whole thing. He had jumped ahead, 2 days ahead when all this went down. And the end of the movie is him not yet. I guess you're supposed to make that logic jump as the audience member to think that he's turning himself into the FBI so he can be their tool to then go save the world.
What's in the bag? A shark or something?
That's just, I was gonna say all these movies do have this in common, except Drive Angry, because I feel like Knowing and Next both have like when you get to the end, the payoff just isn't there. Whereas Drive Angry, the payoff is the end. I mean, there's so many other good things in it, but we will get to that. Mike, obviously you didn't get a chance to see Next, which is fair. We had three movies to watch, and you can only submit yourself to so much Cage.
If anybody ever plays me in a trivia match, give me the year 2007. I quit working at the movie theater in December 2006. So I have like a blind spot for almost a year because like I refused to go to a movie theater after I'd worked there for 5 years for 1 year. So
I can say I saw none of these in theaters.
Yeah.
So, this movie, it sounds like a little bit of a hot mess. Is there any last things that you want to get across before we move on to the next film?
I'm trying to remember where I saw this. It might have been on home video, but I know I saw it. I just don't know why I would have seen it in like 2008 when it finally came out of video.
Right.
I don't, that wasn't like the height of my movie watching. I might have seen this in theaters.
I'm so sorry.
I might have. Yeah.
Well, depending on your age, maybe it wasn't your money, so that's probably okay.
It might have been. I started, you know what? My wife worked at a theater in 2007. We were dating. We had just started dating. Maybe we went to see it together. Maybe it was a free movie we saw or something after the weekend. I honestly can't remember.
I think we all have a very special relationship with theaters. I met my fiance at an AMC. So
hey,
nice.
There we go. All right. Well, let's talk about what movie comes next, and that is Knowing. As you see here, all people that I forgot were in the movie except Nicolas Cage. I remember that. Rose Byrne didn't remember. Ben Mendelsohn didn't remember. What does it say down here? A superbly crafted thriller, 4 stars. Ooh, well, I have some reviews that might contradict that one. Let's scroll through here. Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage in a film that requires Cage. Or in other words,
best review I've ever seen.
That's high praise.
Yeah. I agree. And the good news is that M. Night Shyamalan doesn't have to feel quite so ashamed of himself anymore. And I kept telling Sean as we were watching this, I was like, dude, this really feels like an M. Night movie. like in the worst
does.
way.
It
really
absolutely
does.
was, for sure.
But as we know, not every movie needs to be a thought-provoking work of art. And this right here kind of summarizes why I wanted to make this show.
Yeah.
Well done is a little generous, but it does say well done for 100 minutes, and then it completely falls apart.
I'd say okay is a better phrase.
Exactly. And I've captured the moment here, like where the movie fully did the jump for me. And that was this. Without context, if you don't know what this is, it was at this moment where I was like, what is happening? Let's see, do I have a couple? Let's see if I have any more here. Here we go. Even Cage's hair weave is less amusing than usual, while a so bad it's boring plot speeds along with all the urgency of a snail setting out for a potter about the garden.
I like that one.
Do I need to say more? I will. I'm going to say more. Knowing, again, like I said, I was interested from the trailer, not interested enough to see in theaters because I was a teenager. But I remember watching it with one of my friends. Actually, I was third wheeling it. I was at my friend's house. He had his girlfriend over, and I was there. And I was watching the movie, and whenever I looked over, they were making out on the couch, which seemed like a much better use of their time. So I watched. Oh, I have to give full credit. I'm sure this is what she's doing here. My beautiful and wonderful fiance Lauren gathered all those Rotten Tomatoes reviews for us so that we could use them on the show. So
nice.
Thank you, honey, so much for your work and dedication.
I believe her title is producer.
That's right. That is the producer of Shark Jumpers, the show.
Better say produced by Lauren at the end of the show.
Yes, exactly.
I'm still working on that graphic.
Better make a graphic.
So I'm just trying to think of really all you can think about is I'm going to call them lowlights because they're not really highlights of the film, but they're the film's lowlights. Rose Byrne dies extremely unceremoniously.
Mm-hmm.
We're racing towards the climax of the film. I'm just going to bounce all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And her car gets hit by a truck, and then it's like, that's it. The world's falling apart. The sun's about to blow the world up, but she dies in a car accident. Just give some more details because a lot of people are saying they've never heard of this film. It was like in the 50s or 60s or something. There's this little like she-Damien that is scribbling down on a piece of paper, and they're doing a big time capsule project where everyone in that school puts something in a time capsule, and she's writing all these numbers. And after they bury the time capsule, they find this little girl like still carving the numbers in this like janitor's closet with her fingernails, and she's just got these bloody gnarled fingers. Skip to like 50 years later, they open the time capsule. It's Nicolas Cage's son that gets this piece of paper, and Nick's like studying it, trying to figure out what's going on with it, and he leaves like a coffee mug on it, and it leaves a stain that circles like some numbers, and he starts like typing into Google, which that's what you do when you see a coffee stain on some numbers. You punch them into Google. It's a completely rational thought.
Yeah,
but he goes from there to start, and he starts realizing, like, he starts correlating them with like 9/11 and these like large losses of life throughout history. And then he sees that it ends and stuff. He starts plotting it together, and there's all these numbers. He's like, well, there's these numbers that don't mean anything. And then he finds out when he's out in a traffic jam that a plane crashes, and he looks, and it was the same date that was on there, and it's the longitude and latitude of it. So it starts getting really specific. And he starts sharing these things with his buddy, Ben Mendelsohn, who is in this film. That's about it. He exists in the film.
Well, they're both professors at MIT for some reason,
right? Which is
That's
one of the most believable things in the movie, probably. And it's when as it approaches that final date, and they're trying to find out the mystery behind it, trying to find out things about Rose Byrne's mother, who was the little girl from the beginning. It essentially a solar flare or something light is coming to wipe out Earth. And there are these creepy, bring it up one more time. This gentleman right here, there's like 3 of them, and they're following around Rose Byrne's kid, Nicolas Cage's kid, because that's, how you do. And I remember watching this being very interested. I'm like, ooh, are they aliens? Are they ghosts? Like, what are these things? Are they protector angels? Or not protector angels. That's actually what they ended up being. But like, what are these things? And I guess they just ended up grabbing kids from across the world, putting them into space pods, and being like, "All right, we out. We're gonna leave the world to implode." And I was like, "Oh, that's fascinating." So yeah, the spoiler alert: everybody dies pretty much at the end of it, and they take these kids off. But before they do, they shed their mortal shells into these celestial beings. And as they like carry the kids up into the space pod, you see celestial wings on them. I was like, wait, these are angels? What is the symbolism here? What is happening? And you're just left with like 100 questions that don't matter. And they fly off to another planet and they're playing in the wheat fields. And it's like the end. And you're just like, what the hell did I just watch? So yeah, this was the film that jumped the shark for me, because it was passable enough for, like they said, for about 100 minutes.
Yeah, it's okay.
I want to jump back 15 seconds, and the most apt description of this film is what?
Yep.
What? Like, just leave it open ended. What? That is exactly the description of watching this movie.
You could say.
That's fantastic.
Perfect. Now, no. We pulled it up when we watched it the other night, and I just had to reiterate, because those Rotten Tomatoes reviews don't do it justice. On Amazon Prime Video, this movie has 4.5 out of 5 stars.
Yep.
I just want everyone to know that.
Like, what?
I don't know what kind of extensive. That'll be a next one.
That was too easy.
Let's do the Wicker Man next.
I thought about the Wicker Man. It's too easy.
Well, according to
never
Mike, it
seen it.
needs to be a musical.
A musical.
Yes, the music.
I just want to do a quick reminder here for anybody that wants to feel more involved in the show. I appreciate the comments and stuff, but really, if you want to put in some suggestions for shows that we should tackle on some of our next episodes, we're going to have a rotating cast of, I was going to say characters, but guests and stuff. We're going to keep it fresh. Lots of different ideas. It's not always going to be movies, but sometimes we'd love to hear suggestions, because like I got a few, but I'm willing to divert, and you might have a better idea than me, and we'll go from there. So please click that, do the Streamlabs link down there on the bottom, and let us know your thoughts. And let us know if this is worth doing. You know, maybe it's trash, and you're like, please don't do this again. Throw the whole thing away.
I don't think this show has jumped the shark yet.
Not yet, but I'm sure we'll get there when we end up getting to our next film. So, you guys, everyone here saw Knowing, correct?
Yeah, Mike, give us your mini review of Knowing.
Exactly.
What?
Knowing is like, it is the most like just mundane movie for the beginning of it. It's there. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just there. And then you get to that ending, and it's just like, well, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It had a thriller aspect to it, like a mystery, like what's going on, what do these numbers mean? The plane crash happened, and you're like, okay, it's starting to make sense, but why? Like, why was she so? Okay, so at the end of the movie, Rose Byrne's daughter and Nick Cage's son were chosen by the celestial beings, and
as you do.
And the son was hearing the whisper people, right? That's what they were called, or that's what the kids, the whisper soldiers. That's what they called them up until they left. They never explain why he was hearing these numbers, or rather, why Rose Byrne's mom started writing all these numbers 50 years ago.
Right, because.
So was the world
the numbers accomplished nothing, because we're going to take these kids no matter what.
Yeah.
So giving humanity hints at how the world's going to end.
What purpose does it serve?
It didn't do anything.
I guess it gave them the location of where to meet before, like when they took off, because that was the last set of numbers on, or those were the numbers that she scratched into the door, was the location of where to meet. But you could have also just snatched the kids up and took off. Like, it didn't.
Exactly.
If you were
following them around for it's just nothing. It all fell through.
Yeah. And then they just dump these kids off on some new planet. And
Right.
good luck. I guess let's let nature take over. You'll figure out what to do in a few years once you hit puberty. Like, just no adult supervision whatsoever.
No more Nick Cage.
These aliens just thought they were like breeding animals, and they're like, "Oh, figure it out," you know.
They picked up a pair, male, female kids from all over the world. There was hundreds of ships, and they're just let them loose like bunnies. All right.
So that's knowing, and like the review said, you're probably better off not knowing.
Not knowing.
All right, guys.
Here we go.
I have to say, Mike, thank you, because never, ever would I have intentionally watched this movie.
No.
And I'm so grateful. And me and Lauren just had a wonderful date night enjoying this film. Speaking of which.
Yep.
And so let's pull this up here. So, hang on. And let's look at this beautiful. So what's funny is I want to go over these really quick. Probably the highest budget, worst poster. Generic. And then who doesn't want to see this masterpiece?
Right. In 3D.
In
3D. And
I mean, come on. It came out in February. That's where quality cinema
exactly
is released.
And I actually, this is one of the only ones that, well, next I don't remember trailers for at all, but I do remember trailers for Drive Angry, and the fact that it made it to theaters is remarkable.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see real quick.
What I remember about the trailer too is I thought Amber Heard was his daughter and she got kidnapped. That's what I remember thinking the movie was about. That is not what the movie's about.
A little respect, please, for His Satanic Majesty, Nicolas Cage. How nobody else could have made this work or would have wanted to. Bear with me, guys, because Lauren did an immaculate job of
I can't wait to read
reviews for
I cannot wait to read these.
Oh, that's fine. It gives me time to eat my bacon.
There you go. It's all in 3D, which may sound cool, but it's actually a flaw because Nicolas Cage experiences everything in approximately 8D.
Fantastic.
Okay, here we go. And this, nothing could be more true. William Fichtner steals his scenes, Nick Cage goes nuts, and Amber Heard remains hot. Okay, at least it's better than Ghost Rider, right? And I got a threefer right here.
Nice.
Being stoned or otherwise buzzed might help. The most interesting character is the immaculately dressed accountant, amusingly deadpanned by William Fichtner, who practically functions as Satan's PR man. I made it through that one barely. Great title. Shame about the movie. Oh, there's more. These are beautiful. A shambling, ponderous mess that aims to be a trashy cult classic and merely ends up in the trash, Fichtner aside. You'll notice the common theme here about William Fichtner, who just, oh my gosh. This is my favorite.
Here we go.
This is my favorite. They say what you see in Nicolas Cage's hair is a reflection of your own soul. To me, it looks a bit like a giant microwave wombat slipping off the side or slipping off the top of St. Paul's Cathedral.
I want to read that whole review.
Yeah, click for the full review.
This is an accredited Rotten Tomatoes reviewer.
It absolutely is.
Who absolutely understood the assignment.
So
I really wish that said Jeff Snyder next to it. That would have been perfect.
Oh my God. I hope that this has properly set you up for the discussion that we are about to have, because this movie, man, I was the last to see it. First, Mike watched it and he's like, "Guys," and I was like, "Oh yeah," and I was like, "I know. I watched Knowing. Hopefully, I'll have time to watch the other ones." And then Sean's like, "Oh my gosh," and like both of them just like, "This is a film." I was like, "All right, well, I'll ask Lauren if she wants to sit down and watch this." And after we watched Knowing, she's like, "Yeah, let's watch Drive Angry."
Did you watch it later that night?
No, it was a different night.
Okay.
Actually, what happened is
I was trying to find something to do to fall asleep a few nights later.
and I was like, I'll start Drive Angry.
That ain't putting you to sleep.
I got 30 minutes into it, and I turned it off, and I did go to bed. And then I texted Lauren. I was like, listen, you're watching this movie with me. I'm going to start from the beginning, and we're going to watch this whole movie. Mike, this is your pick, man. Take it.
Again, I would like to thank Tubi for having this movie and me not having seen it, because I'm in the same boat. I never would have watched it otherwise. And boy, am I glad I watched this movie. So the basic synopsis of this movie is Nicolas Cage returns from hell. His character is John Milton, returns from hell to save his granddaughter. It's his granddaughter from being offered in a satanic sacrifice that will unleash hell on earth. And that doesn't even be like, as crazy as that sounds, that doesn't even remotely scratch the surface of how bonkers this movie gets.
Some of it, amazingly, is just interactions. I remember that we were losing it when he's just at the restaurant and the waitress is hitting on him, and he just like grabs her hand, and they're just doing this like little hand holding circling motion while he's talking to her and asking questions. I was like, what Tommy Wiseau wannabe wrote the script and dialogue for this film?
Oh, there's a full moon soon. Yeah. What is happening? Why are you doing this?
What is this? And he's like, the full moon's not for another 2 days. You sure about that, hon? I'm like, what is any of this?
Is that a side effect from coming back from hell? Because it happened again later on in the movie, which led to another wonderful scene with the blonde waitress in the country bar. But it's like, what?
Mike, was it you that asked me when it jumped the shark? Oh, no. What if you asked me where I left off when I watched it the first time? And I was like, I just remember Nick Cage having a shootout while being balls deep. And that's
I mean, if you're gonna pick a moment that it quote unquote jumped the shark before they even started filming, but that's the moment that you had to pick one where it's like, all right, we know what this movie is.
That's when you fully knew what you were in for.
Absolutely. The first scene is him walking away from a really bad CGI explosion.
The CGI in here is something special. Like whether it's just a car door flying at the screen, or we can talk about prosthetics too, because at one point he gets shot in the eye, which leads to one of my favorite lines of dialogue, because Amber Heard's character is like, wait, how are you alive? And his explanation is just, the bullet's still in there. I can feel it. I'm like,
I still feel it.
Well, I'm like, that? She asked you a question.
Yeah.
That is not a response.
A pretty legitimate question. she has concerns. You got shot in the eye. She
doesn't push it after that. He's just like, yeah, the bullet's still in there. And she's like, okay, that's perfectly acceptable.
All right.
Oh God, just the whole premise of the movie, just like the end game leads to this insane ending too. Absolutely insane ending. But just we haven't even begun to talk about Fichtner yet. Oh my God, Fichtner knows what this movie is more than anybody, and is just an absolute delight to watch in this movie.
He's
Coming
talking
from a quirky Merc, I will say that the quirks that he has in this are absolutely incredible. Sean, go ahead.
He's talking to the dude at the diner that Amber Heard's character quit from, and he's like, "Hey, fat fuck," and the guy's like, "What did you call me?" He goes, "I said fat fuck," and then let's leave it at that. All right.
He's like, I think he's like, it could be dead fat fuck.
And then you jump to Amber Heard and her boyfriend at the beginning, and I was like, "Oh, Stone Cold makes an appearance."
I thought it was
like low rent Stone Cold.
At first, I did.
Which is saying something. When I saw the pictures, I was like, "Oh, they got Steve Austin in this movie." No,
right on.
Not even that good.
Not even his understudy. Like, you're talking many, many levels lower than the last two. And Steve Austin's not that great of an actor.
And did you ever? I guess we didn't need a nude punch out in front of like a trailer. Her drag that other girl out of the room. And to be honest, like, short of him cheating on her and kind of, he was trying to be a nice guy about it later on, like when Fichtner came and just offed him.
Yep.
And he's like, why does this keep happening to me? I think he even said that line. He even said, like, why does he was like being held up by the.
He gets stabbed by the broken bat. And he's like, why is everyone hurting me?
That was the line. And for that, you get a bat to the eyeball, which with the prosthetics on that looked just gruesome. They went all in on some practical. They went all out on some of the CGI stuff they were doing.
Oh, the 3D CGI, it's so blatantly apparent too. Like just watching it in regular TV, you know what was meant for it, and they're not even trying to hide it. It's ridiculous.
I want to, and I have to agree with my lady in the chat saying Billy Burke understood the assignment. I want to put this prompt, and Brandy says I really need to see all these movies.
Yes.
My prompt for the chat right now, and everybody here, what is like the best and or worst Nick Cage movie that you have seen? I want to see some suggestions, see if there's some things that I haven't heard of, because he has had a dense career, and I think this may be his crowning achievement. Academy nomination be damned.
This is like the most Nick Cage movie I've ever seen. Like that's the best way to put it. This defines Nick Cage in a nutshell. It's just out of control, and he's just there reveling every second of it. It's tough, you know. You look at him in the 90s, he has, you know, legitimately 3 of the most, you know, beloved action movies of the 90s, and to become to where he is now.
It's such a roller coaster too. He goes so back and forth because he'll come out with in the 90s, he goes batshit crazy in the 2000s. He comes back with like with National Treasure, where he's playing, you know, it's essentially a family movie, a family adventure movie. It's
Cage, but it's fine, you know. It's not unwatchable.
He goes off the rails again. He comes back with at least a voiceover, like a Spider-Verse.
He was great in Spider-Verse.
Yeah, exactly. And so I feel like he's just like, yes. New script, yes. Oh, another script, yes. I don't know how this got on my desk, but yes, I'm doing this.
I think there's a College Humor script about, or a College Humor video about that. It's either College Humor or Funny or Die. I don't remember.
Maybe it was one of the Andy Samberg SNL sketches.
That's high praise.
It's high praise.
I told both Sean and Jesse, if anyone in the chat is as familiar with the show Community, they actually have an episode where the characters take a Nicolas Cage class, and it's literally just called Nick Cage, Good or Bad. And the professor says you're not to watch more than 5 Nick Cage movies in one setting because it'll drive you insane. And the one character pretty much watches all of them in a 5-day stretch and literally just loses his mind trying to figure out if Nick Cage is a good or bad actor.
That was All Bad, right?
All Bad, yeah.
Chris Taylor says he was good in Kick-Ass. Yeah, as Big Daddy.
Yeah, exactly. Kick-Ass, another great one.
It was like a tailor-made role for him, Big Daddy.
Absolutely.
Like at this point, I can't think of anyone else playing that.
Can you be a more violent Adam West? And he's like, yes, I think so.
In the scene where he's on fire too, and he's just screaming.
We talked about when the accountant confronts the abusive ex-boyfriend, and when he has him pinned on the wall and he's got the other half of the bat, and it's after he asked him what kind of car Amber Heard drove, or that was driving,
right?
And he ignores him, and then he pins him to the wall, and then he like smacks the bat that's like inserted in his shoulder. He's like, answer the question.
He deserved an Oscar for this. William Victor should have gotten Best Supporting Actor.
Every facial expression, the way he interacted with people, and like the little like shoulder shrugs that he would do and stuff. He was just so off, and I feel like he saw the script and he's like, oh, it's one of these movies. Okay, I'm gonna eat this up. Whereas I feel like several other people looked at the script and like, oh, I'm in a movie.
Yep.
It's like, no. I mean, technically, you're technically correct.
All right, so give me my backstory on my character. You don't need to worry about that on this one. My dogs are over here fighting over the bacon I just threw.
Nice.
And then he kept on using the FBI badge.
Yeah.
like straight to the camera, which probably would have been a 3D thing because they kept throwing it right at the camera. And he kept using that as a get out of jail free card. Apparently, like
and all of the cops believed him.
All the cops are like, all right, this guy's a Fed. He must know what he's talking about. I mean, he just drove through 15 squad cars with a fucking gas truck or whatever, petroleum truck. And
I thought it was a water truck.
Whatever. Yeah, it would exploded. I just assumed.
It was a Civil War reference.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
But the FBI. Okay, guns down. Oh, and then the lead cop who first shows up. The captain, yeah.
Like wearing like a Darth Vader and some other stuff.
just some random graphic tees throughout the.
I feel like that guy's not an actor, and they didn't tell him they were filming. They're just like, can you say some words? We're not even bringing up the fact that like apparently Nick Cage has this like gun from hell,
right?
With like supernatural powers, like some kind of like Westchester gun.
Mm-hmm.
It was Satan's gun, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and he blew Billy to hell.
It was a god killer, something god killer, something like that. Yeah, he says it earlier. He goes, "I'm not going to stop until I'm drinking a beer from his skull." So of course, when he gets blown up at the end, the one thing left over is the top half of his skull. So, and he's drinking a beer out of it,
and the beer is just pouring out of it, out of the sides too.
Yeah, here's what I don't get: you can see it pouring out of the eye hole, but he drinks out of it like 10 times. I'm like, there's no fluid in there.
There's nothing left. Even sloshing it around. He's talking with it. He's using his hands and talking. He's like, all right, I'm ready to go, but let me finish my beer.
So let me, like, if you're just trying to sell this movie, it's like the movie ends with Nick Cage drinking beer from the skull of a Satan-worshipping Billy Burke who killed his daughter and kidnapped her daughter in order to bring hell on earth. A movie.
And they're driving off through hell.
Driving through hell, yeah.
And that old like a 50s Bel Air or whatever the car was. I'm not a car guy. And that it's conjured out of nowhere by essentially was it one of the reviews you popped up? Satan's PR man.
Yeah. I just want the accountant spinoff movie, and I'm not talking about Ben Affleck.
I'm all in.
I would love that. That would be amazing.
Like put it on HBO, make it an HBO Max miniseries. I want 8-hour-long episodes of The Accountant.
It could be a follow-up to like Supernatural. You just merge the two worlds together. You get Fichtner in there.
Just Fichtner. We just need more Fichtner in everything.
Yes,
I think Lauren said that Fichtner belonged in a Supernatural episode, and I was like, that would be. I instantly decided that I want to see more Fichtner, so much so that I may finally watch Lone Ranger. We'll see.
Oof.
Is he in that? Oh, wow.
Yes, I think he's the villain of Lone Ranger, and I can neither confirm nor deny whether I have purpose for studying that film.
Mm-hmm. That did come up recently.
And character actor, I think Michael Morris is his name, right? He pops up towards the end. Who is great in everything. He is the only person who's playing his role like legit. He went from The Green Mile to Drive Angry. And
also he's from Disturbia, right?
Yeah, he was the creepy neighbor in Disturbia, Yeah, he's been in so many movies and shows over the years. Yeah, he's always fantastic.
A good poll on the on the name there. It's funny that Lauren brings this up. The wardrobe budget must have been insane, because I'm remembering there was somebody in the church with possibly the worst wig I've seen in the film.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I couldn't even hear words because that wig was so loud.
And Page's hair in this movie is fantastic too. Like this is an all-timer.
I wanted to look it up too, because that.
The budget?
Yeah.
I looked it up. I think it's $40 million, if I remember correctly.
Can we please get a budget? Let's hit Box Office Mojo and get a budget to box office comparison.
right, hold on. I'm pulling that up right now.
It became evidently aware after we had seen a couple of these movies that we were really doing this episode to discuss Drive Angry, and going in next was filler. So that is what you guys are getting, is a delayed Drive Angry review, and hopefully everyone watches it immediately.
The budget is reported to be 45 to 50 million, and it made 41 million.
Shut. Where's what?
That's what it says.
That was a $1 million movie.
Yeah,
perhaps. You know, all that money is the cars they wrecked.
It very well could be.
But to be fair, half the car wrecks were CGI. Like whenever like a car would hit and flip over, I'm like, well, that's a after effect.
So I'm looking through IMDb. Do you know what some of these character names are? So this guy named Con Shell played the character of fucking driver. And this guy named Nick Gomez played the character of fucking middle. And Joe Crest played the character of fucking passenger.
I just want that on the resume. Like, I played fucking passenger in Drive Angry.
And then there's like, cultist with a machete, cultist with a hatchet, cowboy with a cattle prod, cultist with a sledgehammer.
This is Drive Angry.
Yes.
I will watch this again. I'm not sure when, but I don't think I'll ever watch Knowing Her Next again for the rest of my life.
No.
This will be, speaking of cultists, I think this is going to be a cult classic for me.
Oh, 100%.
If I'm hanging out with a friend or something, I'm like, and we're trying to think what to do, play games or whatever, like, you want to watch a movie? I'm like, have you seen Drive Angry? And when they tell me no, I'm like, well, get a beer.
Have a drink.
Get a drink.
Have a drink. Going. Have a seat, and let's
go on an adventure.
I'm 99.9% certain my channel is going to have our watch along for. There's no way we're not doing that for Drive Angry.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in on that, right?
Yes, you 100% are in for that one.
Let's hop in, pop a couple open, and get to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my wife has not watched it yet. I am definitely making her watch it. So,
she hasn't gotten to watch Drive Angry yet.
No, she was off when I watched it, so she was out. So, yeah, she's watching Drive Angry.
Absolutely,
fantastic. It came out in theaters, which means it's eligible for the Schmodown.
Hint,
PJ,
hint.
I know you were watching earlier.
Is he still in here? Is he listening along?
There are so many potential 5-pointers from this movie.
Dude, the fact that the movie exists is probably a 5-pointer.
Right.
Like Nick Cage and Amber Heard starting what movie? And like I think 70% of the Schmodown would be like, what?
Who played fucking driver in Drive Angry?
They're like, wait, is that the one with the sledgehammer or
no, it was the one with the steering wheel.
Oh man,
so good. This is like I said, it's the most fun I've had watching a movie I have not previously seen before in a long time.
Yes, Brandy's absolutely correct. Drunk reviews. Let's do it.
We can do that. We can make that happen.
What's that? Oh, that's
Brandy.
It sure does.
What a glorious prank!
Yes.
A glorious prank.
I'm pulling up the YouTube chat because no one decided to grace us with the Streamlabs. It's okay. This is an introductory episode. We'll get there. I'm getting the next one planned out, so you guys can just show up for that one. It's gonna be a ladies' day, so maybe people feel more inclined.
Ladies' night. Feeling right.
So anything else to say about the just wonderful plethora of films that we subjected ourselves to in the pantheon of Nicolas Cage and his wonderful breadth of film history?
You could do a trilogy of Nicolas Cage shows for Jumping the Shark, and they're all going to be applicable because his whole thing goes so up and down.
So I wonder if maybe Cage you guys want to do a watch long in honor of us coming together, the Premiere Boys. I haven't seen Willy's Wonderland yet, but I'm hearing it's incredible.
I have not seen Mandy. Willy's Wonderland. I saw something pop up. Season of the Witch. There's so many Cage movies I haven't seen.
that one
either.
Also, Nicolas Cage was in a movie with Hayden Christensen.
Was that Season of the Witch? I think that was the one.
Is that Season of the Witch? It might be.
I just saw some art about it.
He was in one. I feel like they were like Templars or something, or Knights.
That's what Season of the Witch looks like, I believe.
I am down. AJ Lancaster has been begging me to watch Willy's Wonderland, so I'd be down for that.
Perfect.
Oh no, I don't see Hayden in the. Ron Perlman is in this one though.
Hellboy.
Christopher Lee was in this. God, he's in everything. Yeah, I don't know which one is Nick Cage and Hayden Christensen.
It's probably easier to find by looking up Hayden because way less movies.
Outcast 2014. Although they're both holding swords, so I guess it kind of is maybe along the same lines. Oh, and Jiu-Jitsu, that came out just recently too. That was like his return to form like about a year and a half ago or so. And I remember the action guys doing like reviews. They were Ben and Drew were so excited to watch the trailer. I remember an episode about that. I never saw that one either.
Small thing, but I do appreciate that everyone decided to wear blue today.
Yeah. Was
that intentional? Did you guys get the? I didn't even have to resend the memo.
We got the memo.
I had the premonition of the memo.
He knows what's next, and he's knowing what's next, which is a Drive Angry watch along. Drive Avery drunk along.
Yep, that's
the title.
I mean, it's going to happen. We'll definitely make this happen in the very near future.
Yeah, Cheryl found it.
Here I was assuming that this episode is going to be an hour and a half, but we did a great job of talking about Drive Angry for 40 minutes and getting the other two in 10. So I want to make sure
as it deserves, which might be the most review it's ever gotten. But you know what? Deserve it.
I want to give everyone a chance to do their plugs. And Sean, I know we got a graphic for you, so let's get that done real quick.
Hey, plug. So not more than about an hour from now, we will be sitting and watching with Wingblade, sitting and talking about the Mighty Ducks Game Changers and kind of our love for the entire franchise as a whole. I got Miss Sol Govan and Colin Morris from the Ultimate Schmodown After Show over on Outlaw Nation. We got Matt Thomas from Watt Real Entertainment, and we got Mr. Jake Berlin from Apocalypse Movies and A Certain Point of View, as well as Whiskey Jedi, which is his own show, and that guy, PJ Campbell. I think we all know that guy, head writer of the Schmodown and namesake of the Pajukin, which over at the PG Campbell Network. So we will be sitting down gushing about that. It might go about an hour. There's 6 of us, so I don't know. It might go longer. We'll pull in some, hop in and share the love with the show that I think did not get talked about enough. I feel like. So
I saw the trailer, and my first thought when I watched that was,
I think the first movie or two definitely hold up. I think the third one you had to be invested in the first two.
Agreed.
But I mean, you see it as a 90s kid. It came out in 92, 94, 96. So they were absolutely 90s kids movies. If you didn't watch them, then you just missed them. But they were great.
And I definitely want to give Brandy Parker a huge shout out in the chat because she's doing all the hard stuff. We're just sitting here jabber-jawing.
Brandy Parker always deserves a shout out.
Absolutely.
She always understands the assignment and then does extra credit.
She indeed.
Mr. Mike, where can the folks find you?
Well, as Brandy so generously shared, you can find me on What the Show. We typically go on Tuesday nights. That is subject to change very shortly due to me. But this week we actually are doing 2 shows. On Tuesday, we're going to have a horror special. We were trying to get the Rager Rick Radis, but instead we're getting his agent Taylor Cleek. And then we're doing a special on Wednesday. Speaking of which, Sean just mentioned Mighty Ducks. We absolutely loved it. We're going to have a pretty open-ended discussion that we're going to make open. Anybody who wants to join on, let us know. We're going to do a tier ranking of the Mighty Ducks players, both from the movies and Game Changers. Just, have a little fun talking our favorite characters from the movies and the TV show. So, yeah, that'll be on Wednesday night.
Right on.
And I'm not going to bother doing a full screen for me because you guys see enough of my face as it is. But you can obviously find me right there up in the top right corner at Jesse Swift on Twitter and weekly here on the Flick-N-Reel Fancast. We will be doing another episode of Shark Jumpers June 12th. And I think we have our hosts signed up for that, but we will await to announce that. Wait for me to get a thumbnail and such. But ladies, certainly, so we can get a different perspective, and maybe we'll talk some TV shows. Should be interesting. And then also next Saturday, we will have another news and views show as per usual. It'll be about 9 a.m. Saturday morning. Sometimes that fluctuates a little bit, but we'll let you know. And so it'll be the Saturday after that. We're back at Shark Jumpers. Anyways, thank you so much. These guys put in so much work between subjecting themselves to these films, taking notes, being part of a chat, putting up with me having random, StreamYard meetings and being like, hey guys, what do you think of the soundbite? And like playing around with stuff. Like I said in the last video I made, that it was going to be the last boring layout. So we're playing around with this stuff. Let me know how I'm doing. And if you guys want to see another episode of Shark Jumpers and what some of your suggestions are. As you know, the Streamlabs link is right there. If we didn't see it in the last couple minutes here, we'll pick it up on the next one. Again, thank you so much. We've been Mike, Sean, and Jesse. Usually I say keep it real, but we'll say keep it cagey. See you next time.